The final battle began in the cold darkness between Saturn and Jupiter. Admiral Kethmer had combined his remaining ships with the reinforcements from the Third Battle Fleet, creating the largest Zephyrian force ever assembled, over 100. Alien warships faced the human fleet in what would decide the fate of Earth. Admiral Richard Hayes stood on the bridge of the U.S. Liberator, the most powerful warship humanity had ever built. Around him, the Earth Defense Fleet spread out in attack formation. 200 human ships prepared to face an enemy that had conquered dozens of worlds. "All ships, this is Admiral Hayes," he announced over the fleet communication system. "Today, we fight not just for Earth, but for the right of humanity to exist among the stars. Show them what humans can do when we fight for our home." The two fleets approached each other across millions of miles of empty space. The aliens flew in their traditional formations, relying on concentrated firepower and superior numbers. The humans spread out in loose groups, ready to use their speed and maneuverability. Captain Jim Powell commanded Battle Group Charlie, 12 destroyers positioned on the left flank of the human formation. His ships were armed with the newest kinetic weapons, projectiles that could punch through any known defense. "Target the alien command ship," Powell ordered his fleet. "If we can take out their leadership, the rest will fall apart." The alien flagship was easy to spot. It was twice the size of any other ship in their fleet, with massive weapons and thick armor. Admiral Kethmer stood on its bridge, confident that his superior numbers would win the day. "Begin the attack," Kethmer ordered. "Show these primitives the power of the Zephyrian Empire." The alien ships opened fire first, sending streams of plasma energy toward the human fleet. The space between the two forces lit up with weapons fire as the largest battle in galactic history began, but the humans had learned from studying captured alien technology. Their ships had shields designed specifically to deflect Zephyrian weapons. The plasma bolts that should have destroyed human vessels instead splashed harmlessly against defensive barriers. "Direct hit on enemy flagship," reported the weapons officer on the Liberator. "Their shields are down to 60%. Admiral Hayes smiled grimly. The kinetic weapons were working exactly as designed. While alien shields could stop energy weapons, they were useless against solid projectiles moving at incredible speeds. Lieutenant Colonel Beth Anderson led her fighter squadron into the heart of the alien formation. The human pilots flew like they were dancing through space, avoiding enemy fire while delivering precision strikes against alien ships. "Raptor Squadron, focus on their fighter escorts," Anderson ordered over the radio. "Clear a path for our bombers." The alien pilots had never faced enemies like the human fighters. The small ships moved in ways that seemed impossible, turning and twisting through patterns that no computer could predict. The aliens relied on their targeting systems, but humans relied on instinct and experience. "I cannot get a lock on these fighters," reported an alien pilot to his squadron leader. "They move like they are alive." "Impossible," replied the squadron leader. "No organic being can handle those acceleration forces." But the alien was wrong. Human pilots could survive forces that would kill other species. Years of training in high gravity environments had prepared them for combat that no alien could match. Captain Steve Miller's cruiser, the U.S. Vengeance, was in the thick of the fighting. His ship had taken several hits, but the human armor was holding. Around him, alien ships were breaking apart under the concentrated fire of human kinetic weapons. "Sir, the aliens are trying to retreat," reported his tactical officer. "Not today," Miller replied. "All weapons, continuous fire. Do not let them escape." The human strategy was simple but deadly. They had surrounded the alien fleet and were systematically destroying every ship. There would be no survivors to report back to the Zephyrian Empire. On the alien flagship, Admiral Kethmer watched in. horror as his fleet was torn apart. Ship after ship disappeared in explosions of fire and metal. The humans were not just winning, they were completely destroying his forces. "Sir, we must retreat," urged his aide, Captain Hextall. "We cannot win this battle." Kethmer knew his aide was right, but his pride would not let him admit defeat. "Signal all ships. Concentrate fire on the human flagship. If we can destroy their command ship, we might still win." Every remaining alien vessel turned its weapons toward the UES Liberator. A massive human dreadnought was hit by dozens of plasma beams simultaneously, its shields flaring under the incredible assault. "Shields down to 30%, reported the Liberator's defensive officer. Admiral Hayes remained calm under fire. "All battle groups, focus fire on the alien flagship. End this now." 12 human ships turned their weapons toward Admiral Kethmer's vessel. The concentrated kinetic barrage tore through the alien shields like they were made of paper. The flagship began breaking apart under the incredible force. Kethmer had time for one final thought as his ship was destroyed. These humans were not a primitive species. They were warriors unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. With his last breath, he managed to send a warning message to the Zephyrian Empire. "Do not underestimate the humans," he broadcast on all frequencies. "They are death itself walking among the stars." The alien flagship exploded in a brilliant flash of light, taking Admiral Kethmer and his entire crew with it. The remaining Zephyrian ships, seeing their leader destroyed, tried desperately to escape, but the humans had planned for this moment. Captain Tony Rodriguez's stealth destroyers had been positioned along every possible escape route. As the alien ships tried to flee, they found themselves trapped in a deadly crossfire. "This is for Earth," Rodriguez said quietly, as his weapons destroyed the last alien vessel. The battle was over. The entire Zephyrian fleet had been destroyed with no survivors. The space around Saturn was filled with the wreckage of over 100 alien ships. While the human fleet had lost only 8 vessels, Admiral Hayes stood on the bridge of the Liberator, looking at the debris field that had once been an invasion force. The victory was complete, but he knew this was just the beginning of humanity's journey among the stars. "Send a message to Earth," he ordered. "Tell them the invasion has been defeated. Earth is safe." On Earth, billions of people watched as President Johnson announced the victory. The secret of Project Starguard was finally revealed to the world, along with the news that humanity now possessed the most powerful space military in the galaxy. "Today marks a new chapter in human history," the president declared. "We are no longer bound to one world. The stars themselves are within our reach." Captain Jake Morrison, the officer who had first detected the alien approach, was promoted to admiral and given command of humanity's first interstellar exploration fleet. His mission was to explore the galaxy and make contact with other species, but on humanity's terms. "We go in peace," Morrison told his crew as they prepared for their first journey to another star system. "But we carry the biggest guns in the galaxy, just in case." The human ships departed for distant stars, carrying a message for any hostile civilizations they might encounter. The message was simple: Earth remembers its enemies. Throughout the galaxy, species that had once considered expansion into human space received the warning from the destroyed Zephyrian fleet. A new phrase entered the common language of dozens of civilizations. They expected emptiness. It became a warning about the danger of underestimating an unknown enemy. The humans of Earth had appeared primitive and helpless, but they had been preparing for war among the stars for over a century. Dr. Lisa Brooks continued her research into alien technology, but now she had access to the computers and databases of an entire alien fleet. Humanity would learn from their enemies and become even stronger. "The galaxy is full of species that think they are superior," she told her research team. Today they learned that humans do not surrender, and we do not forget. The war was over, but humanity's expansion into space had just begun. They had proven themselves in battle against one of the galaxy's most powerful empires. Now other species would have to decide whether to welcome humanity as friends or face them as enemies. Admiral Hayes remained at his post on Titan Base, watching over Earth's defenses. He knew that other threats would come eventually. The galaxy was a dangerous place, and humanity would need to stay strong. "We won the first battle," he told his staff. "But this war will last for centuries. We must be ready for whatever comes." Next, the story ended where it began, with humans watching the stars. But now they were not looking up in wonder at the unknown. They were looking out at a galaxy that had learned to fear the name of Earth. Humanity had expected to find emptiness in space. Instead, they found enemies who thought humans were weak. Those enemies had learned the truth too late. In the cold darkness between the stars, humanity had written its name in the wreckage of alien fleets. The message was clear to anyone who cared to listen. Earth was no longer a helpless world waiting to be conquered. It was the home of the most dangerous species in the galaxy, and they were ready to defend it against any threat. Commander Vextal stood before the massive viewing screen on his ship. The blue and green planet called Earth slowly turned in the darkness of space. He had been watching this world for many years. His people, the Zephyrians, were very smart and had traveled between stars for thousands of years. They knew how to judge other species. Earth looked simple to them. "The humans are still using basic rockets," said Science Officer Zekra, reading from her datapad. "They have not learned to travel faster than light. Their weapons are primitive nuclear bombs. They fight each other constantly over small pieces of land." Vextal nodded. The Zephyrians had watched many worlds like this one. They always followed the same pattern. Young species stayed on their home planet until they destroyed themselves or became space travelers. Earth seemed to be taking the first path. "How many ships will we need for the cleansing operation?" asked Lieutenant Morden from his position at the weapons station. 12 ships should be more than enough," Vextal replied. "The humans have no real space fleet. They send up small rockets that barely leave their atmosphere. We could take this planet with just 3 ships, but Admiral Kethmer wants to be careful. The Zephyrian fleet had been hiding in the outer parts of Earth's solar system for decades. They used special technology to stay invisible. Their job was to watch and learn about human behavior. What they saw made them confident that this would be an easy conquest. On the hidden observation station near Jupiter, the aliens recorded everything. Human television signals, radio waves, and internet communications all painted the same picture. The humans were divided into hundreds of small nations. They spent most of their time and money fighting each other instead of exploring space. "Look at this," Zekra said, pointing to her screen. "They just had another war in the Middle East. Thousands died fighting over oil and religion. They cannot even work together to clean their own planet." Vextal studied the data. Earth's oceans were full of plastic waste. The air in many cities was thick with pollution. The ice caps were melting because the humans burned too much fuel. These were clear signs of a species that would destroy itself within a few hundred years. "They are like children playing with fire," he said. "It is almost sad to watch." Far away on Earth, Captain Jake Morrison sat in the control room of Luna 7, a monitoring station on the dark side of the moon. He stared at the strange readings on his computer screen. For the past 3 months, his equipment had been picking up energy signals that did not match anything in their database. "Amy, come look at this," he called to Lieutenant Amy Carter, who was working at the communications desk. Amy walked over and looked at the screen. The display showed waves of energy coming from the outer solar system. The patterns were too regular to be natural, But they did not match any known human technology either. Could it be from one of our deep space probes? She asked. Jake shook his head. I checked. All our probes are accounted for. These signals are coming from areas where we have never sent anything. Amy felt a chill run down her spine. She had always wondered if Earth was alone in the universe. Now it seemed like they might have an answer. Should we report this to Earth Command? She asked. I already tried last week, Jake said with frustration in his voice. They said it was probably solar interference or equipment malfunction. They told us to run diagnostics and stop wasting their time. This was the problem with being stationed so far from Earth. The people in charge back home did not take their reports seriously. Luna 7 was considered a quiet assignment where nothing important ever happened. But Jake knew something was wrong. He had been monitoring space for 15 years. He could tell the difference between natural phenomena and artificial signals. These energy patterns were definitely made by some kind of technology. Meanwhile, on the Zephyrian command ship, Admiral Kethmer was receiving the final invasion plans. He was an old warrior who had conquered dozens of worlds. Earth would be his easiest victory yet. Commander Vextal reports that the humans have no space defenses, his aide informed him. Their most advanced spacecraft can barely reach their own moon. The invasion fleet is ready to begin the approach. Kethmer looked at the tactical display. 12 Zephyrian ships against a planet with no real space force. It would be over in hours. The humans might try to use their nuclear weapons, but Zephyrian shields could easily stop such primitive attacks. Begin the approach, he ordered. Take a direct path toward Earth. There is no need for stealth anymore. Let them see us coming. Perhaps some will surrender without a fight. The Zephyrian fleet moved out of its hiding position and began flying toward the inner solar system. Their ships were beautiful and deadly, with smooth curves and powerful weapons. Each vessel was larger than anything humans had ever built. Back on Luna 7, Jake Morrison's equipment suddenly went crazy. Every screen flashed with warnings. The energy signals he had been tracking for months were now moving fast toward Earth. Amy, you need to see this now, he shouted. Amy ran to his station. The display showed multiple objects moving through space at incredible speed. They were definitely artificial, and they were heading straight for Earth. How fast are they going? She asked. Jake did some quick calculations. About 10% the speed of light. Nothing we have can move that fast. Amy's hands shook as she reached for the emergency communication system. This was the moment every person on Luna 7 had trained for but hoped would never come. First contact with an alien species, and it did not look friendly. Earth Command, this is Luna 7, she said. Into the microphone. We have multiple unknown craft approaching Earth at high speed. Repeat, we have confirmed alien vessels entering our solar system. The response came back immediately. Luna 7, this is Earth Command. You are ordered to stop sending false reports. This is your final warning. Jake grabbed the microphone from Amy. This is Captain Morrison. I am putting my career on the line here. These are real alien ships, and they are coming to Earth. You need to activate all defense systems now. There was a long pause. Finally, a different voice came on the radio. Captain Morrison, you are relieved of duty. A replacement crew will be sent to Luna 7 within 48 hours. Jake threw down the microphone in anger. The people in charge were too stubborn to believe the truth. Earth was about to face its first alien invasion, and the leaders were treating it like a false alarm. On the Zephyrian ships, the crew was relaxed and confident. They had done this many times before. Young species always reacted the same way when they saw advanced alien technology. First came fear, then desperate attempts to fight, and finally surrender when they realized how outmatched they were. "Sir, we are detecting some radio chatter from the third planet," reported Communications Officer Hexeville. "It appears they have spotted our approach." Admiral Kethmer smiled. "Good. Let them panic for a while. Fear will make them more likely to give up without a fight." But the Admiral had made a terrible mistake. He assumed that humans were like every other primitive species he had conquered. He did not know that Earth had been preparing for this day for over a century. The human race had learned long ago that the universe was full of dangers. What the Zephyrians saw as a divided, primitive species was actually humanity's greatest deception. While they fought small wars on the surface, Earth's real military force had been hidden in the darkness of space, waiting for the day when aliens would finally reveal themselves. Deep inside the Moon Titan, Admiral Richard Hayes stood in the command center of the most secret military base in the solar system. The room was huge, with screens covering every wall. Hundreds of officers worked at computer stations, monitoring space around Earth. This was the heart of Project Starguard, humanity's best-kept secret. Hayes had been waiting for this moment his entire life. For over 100 years, Earth's governments had been preparing for alien contact. It started in 1947, when the first alien ship crashed in the desert near Roswell. The military covered up the incident, but scientists studied the wreckage in secret. "Sir, Luna 7 reports alien ships approaching Earth," said Colonel Bob Martin, the communications officer. "Captain Morrison is trying to warn Earth Command, but they are not listening." Hayes nodded grimly. The public denial was part of the plan. While the surface governments pretended aliens did not exist, the real work happened in hidden bases throughout the solar system. Titan Base was just one of dozens of secret facilities. "How many ships?" Hayes asked. 12 confirmed contacts. "They are moving at .1 light speed, direct approach vector." Hayes walked to the main tactical display. The screen showed the solar system with red dots marking the alien ships. They were coming straight toward Earth with no attempt to hide. This told him everything he needed to know about their intentions. "They think we are helpless," he said to his staff. "That is exactly what we wanted them to think." Dr. Lisa Brooks entered the command center carrying a data pad. She was the chief scientist for Project Starguard and had spent 30 years studying captured alien technology. Her team had reverse-engineered antigrav systems, energy weapons, and faster-than-light communications from various alien crashes and encounters. "Admiral, I have the tactical analysis," she said. "Based on their approach speed and formation, these appear to be Zephyrian ships. We have been tracking their observation posts for the past 5 years." Hayes was impressed, but not surprised. Starguard had always known that aliens were watching Earth. The trick was to make them see only what humanity wanted them to see. "What do we know about Zephyrian military capabilities?" he asked. "They use standard energy shields and plasma weapons," Brooks replied. "Their tactics are based on overwhelming firepower from long range. They have never faced an opponent that uses kinetic weapons or stealth technology. This was humanity's greatest advantage. While other species developed elegant energy-based weapons, humans had taken a different path. They built guns that fired solid projectiles at incredible speeds. They created ships that could hide in space, like submarines hiding in the ocean." "How long until they reach Earth?" Hayes asked. 18 hours at current speed," Colonel Martin replied. Hayes turned to face the entire command center. "Attention all stations. Operation Thunderstrike is now active. Send the activation codes to all fleet commanders." Throughout the solar system, hidden bases received the signal they had been waiting for. On Europa, Captain Steve Miller read the message on his personal communicator. His ship, the UE's Vengeance, had been disguised as a research station for the past 2 years. "All crew to battle stations," he announced over the ship's communication system. This is not a drill. We are at war. The Vengeance was a heavy cruiser, one of 47 warships that made up Earth's secret fleet. It carried weapons that could destroy an entire city in seconds. The crew had trained for this moment their whole lives. On Ceres, Lieutenant Colonel Beth Anderson climbed into her fighter aircraft. She was the leader of Raptor Squadron, 24 of the best pilots in human history. Their ships were small and fast, designed to outfly anything the aliens could build. "Listen up, Raptors," she said over the radio. "We have been training for this day since we were children. Today, we show the galaxy what human pilots can do." The fighters launched from hidden bays inside the asteroid. They moved silently through space, their engines making no heat signature that alien sensors could detect. Anderson felt her heart pounding with excitement and fear. This would be the first space battle in human history. Back on Titan Base, Admiral Hayes was coordinating the largest military operation ever attempted. The Earth Defense Fleet consisted of over 200 ships, from massive dreadnoughts to tiny scout vessels. They had been built in secret over decades, using technology that combined human engineering with alien science. "Fleet status report," Hayes ordered. "Battle Group Alpha is in position near Jupiter," reported Captain Nancy Scott from the tactical station. "Battle Group Beta is moving to intercept the position. All stealth ships are powered down and waiting." The plan was simple but deadly. The aliens expected to find empty space and primitive human ships. Instead, they would face the most advanced military force in the solar system. Commander Paul Jackson sat in the cockpit of his fighter, floating in space near one of Jupiter's moons. He had been a pilot for 12 years, but this was his first real combat mission. His squadron was part of the advance force that would hit the aliens first. "Gold leader to all Gold Squadron aircraft," he said into his radio. "Remember your training. These aliens have never fought humans before. They do not know what we can do. The human fighters were different from anything else in the galaxy. They were built for speed and maneuverability, not comfort. The pilots wore special suits that let them survive forces that would kill normal people. They could turn and twist in ways that alien pilots could never match. On Earth, the secret was finally being revealed to the world's leaders. In a secure bunker beneath the Pentagon, General Patricia Davis was briefing the President of the United States. "Mr. President, Project Starguard has been active since 1947, she explained. "We have been preparing for this invasion for over 70 years. Our fleet is ready to defend Earth." The President stared at the tactical display showing alien ships approaching Earth. "Why was I not told about this before?" "For security reasons, sir. The fewer people who knew about Starguard, the better we could maintain the deception. The aliens have been watching us for decades. We needed them to think we were helpless." Similar briefings were happening in secret bunkers around the world. The leaders of major nations were learning that everything they thought they knew about their military capabilities was wrong. Earth had weapons and ships that could match any alien force. At the Starguard Research Facility on Mars, Dr. Carl Peterson was making final preparations for the new weapons that would be used in battle. His team had created something called kinetic impactors, weapons that fired solid metal projectiles at nearly the speed of light. "The aliens use energy shields," he explained to his assistants. "These shields can stop laser beams and plasma bolts, but they cannot stop a piece of metal moving at relativistic speeds." The kinetic weapons were based on human understanding of physics. While aliens had developed beyond simple projectile weapons, humans had perfected them. A small piece of metal, moving fast enough, could punch through any defense. Captain Tony Rodriguez commanded a stealth destroyer hidden in the asteroid belt. His ship looked like a piece of space rock from the outside, but inside it was packed with advanced weapons and sensors. He had been waiting in the cold darkness for 3 years. "Sir, "We have visual contact with the alien fleet," his sensor operator reported. "They are maintaining formation and speed. No indication they have detected our presence." Rodriguez smiled grimly. The aliens were flying straight into a trap. They expected to find a defenseless planet, but instead they would face the fury of an entire species that had been preparing for war among the stars. Back on Titan Base, Admiral Hayes watched the tactical display as red and blue dots moved across the screen. The red dots were alien ships, moving confidently toward Earth. The blue dots were human ships, hidden throughout the solar system and waiting for the order to attack. "Admiral, we are receiving communications from the alien fleet," reported the communications officer. "They are broadcasting a surrender demand to Earth." Hayes almost laughed. The aliens were so confident in their superiority that they expected humans to give up without a fight. They had no idea what was about to happen to them. "Let them broadcast," Hayes said. "In a few hours, they will learn that humanity does not surrender." The stage was set for the greatest battle in human history. An alien fleet that had conquered dozens of worlds was about to discover that Earth was unlike any planet they had ever encountered. The humans they thought were primitive and helpless were actually the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Secret that humanity had kept for over a century was about to be revealed in the most violent way possible. Commander Vextall stood on the bridge of his ship as the Zephyrian advance force moved through the space near Jupiter. His sensors showed nothing but empty space and the giant planet's swirling clouds. Everything was going according to plan. "No sign of human military activity," reported his tactical officer. "The space around Jupiter is clear of any spacecraft." Vextall nodded with satisfaction. The humans were probably panicking on their home world, but they had no way to stop the Zephyrian fleet. This would be over quickly. "Maintain course for Earth," he ordered. "Prepare to broadcast our final surrender demand when we reach the inner system." The 12 Zephyrian ships flew in a perfect formation, their shields glowing with energy. Each vessel was 3 times larger than anything humans had ever built, or so the aliens believed. They had no idea that hidden all around them, human warships were preparing to attack. Captain Steve Miller watched the alien fleet approach on his tactical display. The UE's Vengeance had been disguised as a research station for 2 years, but now it was time to reveal its true purpose. His crew was ready for battle. "All stations, this is the captain," Miller announced over the ship's communication system. "We are about to engage the enemy. Remember, we are fighting for our homeworld and our families. Make every shot count." The Vengeance was armed with weapons that the aliens had never seen before. Instead of energy beams, it fired solid metal projectiles at incredible speeds. The kinetic impactors could punch through any shield known to galactic science. "Target the lead ship," Miller ordered. "All weapons prepare to fire on my command." Hidden throughout the Jupiter system, dozens of human ships were making the same preparations. The aliens were flying straight into the largest ambush in history. Lieutenant Colonel Beth Anderson sat in her fighter, waiting for the signal to attack. Her squadron was hidden behind one of Jupiter's moons, their engines cold and their weapons charged. She had been training for this moment since she was 16 years old. "Raptor leader to all aircraft," she said into her radio. "The aliens think they are hunting helpless prey. Today, we show them what happens when you try to hunt humans." Her fighter was small compared to the alien ships, but it was fast and deadly. The human pilots had advantages that no alien species possessed. They could handle extreme forces, think creatively under pressure, and fight with a desperation that came from defending their home. On the alien flagship, Commander Vextall was reviewing the final attack plans when his sensor operator suddenly looked up with confusion. "Sir, I am detecting some unusual energy readings," the operator reported. There appeared to be artificial structures near the fourth moon of Jupiter. Vextal frowned. According to their intelligence, humans had never built anything beyond their own moon. Probably space debris, he said. The humans are always launching junk into space. But the sensor operator was not convinced. Sir, these readings look like power sources. Large ones. Before Vextal could respond, space around his fleet exploded with weapons fire. Massive kinetic rounds slammed into the Zephyrian ships, their shields flaring and failing under the incredible impact. The aliens had never faced weapons like these before. All ships, we are under attack. Vextal shouted into his communicator. Return fire! Return fire! The Zephyrian ships tried to respond, but they were confused and disoriented. Their sensors had detected nothing until the moment the shooting started. Now they were surrounded by enemies. They could not see. Captain Miller watched with satisfaction as his first volley tore through the alien formation. The kinetic impactors hit with the force of nuclear weapons, but without the radiation. The alien shields were designed to stop energy weapons, not solid projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. Direct hit on Target 1, reported his weapons officer. Target is breaking apart. The lead alien ship was spinning out of control, atmosphere venting from multiple holes in its hull. The crew was probably dead already, but Miller was not taking any chances. Fire again, he ordered. Make sure it stays down. The second volley finished off the alien flagship. Commander Vextal had just enough time to realize that humans were far more dangerous than anyone had imagined before his ship exploded in a ball of fire. Beth Anderson's fighter squadron struck next, swooping down on the confused alien ships. Like wolves attacking a herd of deer, the human pilots flew in patterns that no alien could predict, using the gravity of Jupiter's moons to slingshot around obstacles. Fox 3, Fox 3, Anderson called out as she fired her missiles. 2 birds away. Her missiles were not like the ones aliens typically used. Instead of explosive warheads, they carried kinetic penetrators that could punch through ship hulls, like bullets through paper. The alien point defense systems were not designed to stop such weapons. The aliens tried to fight back, but their weapons could not lock onto the fast-moving human fighters. The pilots were using tactics developed from centuries of aerial combat on Earth. They flew like they were in a dogfight over the Pacific Ocean, not a space battle near Jupiter. "This is impossible," shouted Captain Culver from one of the surviving alien ships. "These are supposed to be primitive beings." His ship shook as human weapons hit it from 3 different directions. The humans were coordinating their attacks perfectly, using their superior mobility to stay ahead of the alien targeting systems. Captain Tony Rodriguez's stealth destroyer suddenly appeared right next to the alien formation. His ship had been hiding in the shadow of an asteroid, completely invisible to alien sensors. Now he opened fire at point-blank range. "Surprise," Rodriguez said quietly as his weapons tore into the nearest alien ship. The aliens finally understood what was happening. They were not fighting a primitive species. They were fighting an advanced military force that had been hiding its true capabilities. The humans had planned this ambush perfectly. "All ships retreat," ordered Captain Culver. "We must warn the main fleet," but the humans had thought of that too. As the surviving alien ships tried to escape, they found their path blocked by more human vessels. Captain Dan Roberts led a squadron of destroyers that had been waiting along every possible escape route. "Nobody leaves," Roberts said into his radio. "We cannot let them report back to their friends." The human ships closed in from all sides, their weapons firing continuously. The aliens were trapped in a deadly crossfire with no way out. Their superior technology meant nothing when they were outnumbered and outmaneuvered. On one of the alien ships, Science Officer Zekra was desperately trying to send a warning message to the main fleet. Her hands shook as she worked at her communication station, knowing that her ship was about to be destroyed. Admiral Kethmer must be warned, she said to herself. These humans are not what they appear to be. But her transmission was cut short as a human kinetic round punched through her ship's hull. The last thing she saw was the cold darkness of space rushing in to claim her dot within 20 minutes. The entire Zephyrian advance force was destroyed. 12 alien ships that had conquered dozens of worlds were now nothing but floating debris. Not a single human ship had been seriously damaged. Admiral Hayes watched the battle from his command center on Titan Base. The tactical display showed the complete destruction of the alien force. It was exactly what he had hoped for, but he knew this was just the beginning. Excellent work, people, he announced to his staff. But remember, this was only their advance force. The main fleet is still coming. Captain Miller stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, looking at the wreckage of the alien ships floating in space. His crew was cheering, but he remained focused on the bigger picture. Recovery teams, begin salvage operations, he ordered. I want every piece of alien technology brought back for analysis. We need to learn everything we can before the next battle. The human ships moved through the debris field like scavengers, collecting samples and gathering intelligence. The aliens had made a fatal mistake by underestimating humanity, but they would not make the same mistake twice. Beth Anderson landed her fighter in the Vengeance's hangar bay, her adrenaline still pumping from the battle. She had shot down 3 alien fighters and helped destroy 2 capital ships. It was the best day of her life, but she knew more fighting was coming. How do you feel about your first space battle? Asked her wingman, Lieutenant Mike Stevens. Like we just kicked the biggest bullies in the galaxy right in the teeth. Anderson replied with a grin, but on the edge of the solar system, Admiral Kethmer was receiving the news that would change everything. His advance force had been completely destroyed by an enemy that was supposed to be helpless. This is impossible, he said, staring at the empty space where his ships should have been. How could primitive humans destroy 12 Zephyrian warships? His aide, Captain Hex Dahl, looked equally confused. Sir, our intelligence clearly showed that Earth has no advanced military capabilities. Kethmer realized that everything they thought they knew about humans was wrong. This was not going to be an easy conquest. This was going to be a real war against an enemy that had been hiding its true strength. Send word to the collective, he ordered. Request immediate reinforcements. We are not facing a primitive species. We are facing something far more dangerous. The first battle of the war was over, but the real fighting was just beginning. Humanity had revealed its secret, and Admiral Kethmer paced back and forth on the bridge of his flagship, trying to understand what had happened to his advance force. 12 experienced warships had been destroyed by an enemy that was supposed to have no space military at all. This changed everything. Communication from the Zephyrian High Command, reported his communications officer. They are sending the 3rd Battle Fleet to assist us. How long until they arrive? Kethmer asked. 6 days, sir? Kethmer nodded grimly. He would have to hold position and wait for reinforcements before attacking Earth again. But the humans had already proven they would not wait for him to get ready. On Titan Base, Admiral Hayes was planning the next phase of Operation Thunderstrike. The destruction of the alien advance force had been perfect, but now the real challenge began. The main alien fleet was larger and more experienced than the ships they had already destroyed. Intelligence reports that the aliens are calling for. Back up, said Dr. Lisa Brooks as she entered the command center. Our listening posts have intercepted their communications. Hayes studied the tactical display. The alien main fleet had stopped at the edge of the solar system, probably waiting for reinforcements. This gave humanity a chance to take the fight to them instead of waiting for another attack on Earth. We cannot let them regroup, Hayes decided. Launch Operation Deep Strike immediately. Throughout the solar system, human strike forces received their orders. Instead of defending Earth, they would hunt down and destroy alien ships before the enemy could coordinate their assault. It was a risky strategy, but Hayes knew that humans fought best when they were on the attack. Captain Dan Roberts commanded Strike Force Alpha, consisting of 6 destroyers and 2 cruisers. His mission was to locate and destroy alien scout ships. That might be gathering intelligence about human capabilities. "Remember, people," Roberts told his crew over the ship's communication system, "we are not fighting a defensive war. We are taking the fight to them." His ships moved silently through the outer solar system, using advanced stealth technology to avoid detection. The human vessels looked like asteroids or space debris to alien sensors. It was technology that Earth had developed specifically for fighting enemies with superior numbers. Meanwhile, Commander Kate Phillips led Strike Force Beta toward the alien fleet's position. Her ships were fast attack vessels designed to hit hard and disappear before the enemy could respond. She had been waiting years for a chance to test human tactics against real alien opponents. "Target confirmed," reported her sensor operator. 3 alien ships in formation, heading toward Jupiter. Phillips smiled coldly. The aliens were probably investigating the wreckage of their advance force, trying to figure out what had happened. They were about to get a very direct answer. "All ships, prepare for attack run," she ordered. "Hit them fast and get out before they can call for help." The human ships accelerated toward their targets, their weapons charging for the first strike. The aliens had no idea they were being hunted until it was too late. On the alien ships, Captain Veltar was examining the debris field where the advance force had been destroyed. The wreckage told a story that was hard to believe. Human weapons had torn through Zephyrian shields like they were made of paper. "These projectile weapons are completely different from anything in our database," his science officer reported. "They appear to use kinetic energy instead of plasma or particle beams." Veltar was confused. Most civilized species had moved beyond simple projectile weapons thousands of years ago. They were crude and inefficient compared to energy weapons. But somehow, humans had made them incredibly deadly. "Sir, I am detecting energy signatures approaching our position," his sensor operator suddenly announced. "Distance and speed? Unknown ships, closing fast from multiple directions." Veltar realized they were under attack, but it was already too late. Human missiles struck his ship from 3 different angles, the kinetic warheads punching through the hull and exploding inside the vessel. "Return fire," he shouted, but his weapons officers could not get a lock on the human ships. They were moving too fast and changing direction too quickly. Commander Phillips watched with satisfaction as her attack run destroyed 2 of the 3 alien ships. The 3rd vessel was trying to escape, but she had positioned her ships to block all the exit routes. "Target is attempting to flee," reported her tactical officer. "Not today," Phillips replied. "All ships, focus fire on the remaining target." Last alien ship disappeared in a ball of fire, its crew never understanding how humans had found them so quickly. Phillips' strike force had completed their mission in less than 10 minutes. Similar attacks were happening throughout the outer solar system. Human strike forces appeared without warning, destroyed their targets, and vanished before alien reinforcements could arrive. It was a new kind of warfare that the Zephyrians had never encountered. Captain Mike Thompson led his destroyer squadron in an attack on an alien supply convoy near Saturn. The alien ships were carrying fuel and ammunition to the main fleet, but they would never reach their destination. "Ghost Squadron, this is Ghost Leader," Thompson said into his radio. "Begin attack run on my mark." The human ships dropped out of stealth mode directly above the alien convoy. The aliens had no time to react before kinetic rounds tore through their hulls. Within minutes, the entire convoy was destroyed. But the humans were not just destroying ships. They were also gathering intelligence and spreading fear among the alien crews. Colonel Sandra Lewis led a team of Special Forces soldiers who boarded damaged alien vessels. "Move fast and stay quiet," Lewis told her team as they entered an alien ship through a hole blown in its hull. "We need to download their computer files and get out before this thing explodes." The human soldiers moved through the alien ship like ghosts, their advanced armor making them nearly invisible. They planted listening devices, copied computer data, and sometimes captured alien crew members for questioning. The aliens had never faced enemies who could board their ships and disappear without a trace. Back on the alien flagship, Admiral Kethmer was receiving reports of attacks throughout his fleet. Ship after ship was being destroyed by an enemy that struck without warning and vanished before his forces could respond. "How many ships have we lost?" he asked his aide. 17 destroyed, 11 damaged, and 4 missing, Captain Hex Dale replied with a shaky voice. Kethmer could not believe what he was hearing. In less than 2 days, the humans had destroyed nearly half of his fleet. These were not the actions of a primitive species. This was advanced military strategy being executed perfectly. "Sir, we are receiving a message from the human forces," his communications officer announced. "Put it on the main screen." The image that appeared was of a human military officer wearing a blue uniform. Admiral Hayes looked directly into the camera with cold, determined eyes. "I am Admiral Richard Hayes of the Earth Defense Fleet," he said calmly. "You came to our solar system expecting to find a helpless planet. Instead, you found a species that has been preparing for war among the stars for over a century." Kethmer listened in growing horror as the human commander continued speaking. "Your advance force is destroyed. Your scout ships are destroyed. Your supply lines are cut. You have 2 choices: retreat from our system immediately or face complete annihilation." The message ended, leaving the alien bridge in stunned silence. No primitive species had ever spoken to the Zephyrian military with such confidence and authority. "Sir, what are your orders?" asked Captain Hextall. Kethmer stared at the empty screen where the human admiral had been. His pride told him to fight, but his military training told him that he was facing an enemy unlike any he had ever encountered. "Signal the 3rd battle. Fleet," he ordered finally. "Tell them to accelerate their approach. We need those reinforcements now." But even as he gave the order, Kethmer knew that more ships might not be enough. The humans had shown they could strike anywhere at any time. They fought like no species he had ever seen, with a combination of advanced technology and savage determination. On Earth, the secret of Project Stargard was finally being revealed to the public. President Johnson stood before television cameras. In the White House, preparing to tell the world that humanity was at war with an alien invasion force. "My fellow Americans and citizens of the world," he began. "For over 70 years, our governments have been preparing for this day. We are not alone in the universe, and not all of our